Alright friends, welcome back to Jason Design Shop, where today we are going to make a cutting board with some scrap wood from the scrap wood hardwood pile. So check it out, it's going to be cool, and we got a twist in there. Going to do a mock-up with this project, make it even cooler. Let's get started. Alright, so I've made a mistake. These are end grain and they're supposed to be the side grain, so when we turn it up it turns it into grain, and here's going to be reversed. When we turn it up it's going to turn into side grain. So I cut these wrong, all these pieces, so it is kind of pretty with the end curls in there. I was supposed to cut it this way and lay it in there, and then it would be turned up to the end grain. So I got to take all of these pieces out and replace them with correct ones. I don't know what to do with those. It's a waste. See, like, that's correct. And I dug out this big cherry replacement from the tree. As you can see, it's got some rot in here, so we can get rid of this half of the tree and use this beautiful part. Of course, it's cupped a little bit. We got some more maple, curly maple there. You can throw these in here. And then I got all these 13-inch long cherries to drop in. Alright, decided to glue this up as it is. There it is, all glued up. The camera died when I was gluing it, so I missed that cool time lapse of gluing that all up really fast. But there it is, done. Take these off. I can get this out of here. Alright. We can scrape off some of these glue things, cut it, and run it through the planer. We'll have our tray table. Check. Oh, beautiful. Not gonna affect what we're doing. Beautiful. Now you run it through the planer. This is my sanding pad. My table's a little bumpy, not perfect, with glue bumps. This side's great. This side has a little bit of snipe going through the machine. I can feel a little bump there. Of course, we got to sand it anyways. So I'm going to go up through a couple grits here and get that beautiful and sounded. We're going to keep a hard corner right here. We might round the bottom because it is a tray and it'll make it look a little thinner. Maybe we'll do a chamfer at an angle. And that'll help make it look thinner. It's a cutting block style and two handles here. Might be kind of heavy for a block. I don't know. All right, so let's sand. What do we got here? This is 120, probably perfect. There it is, a beautiful, what one might say, cutting board. I definitely could sand it a little more. That's 120. We'll go up to some higher grits. But before I do that, there's some cracks right there. A couple little cracks I'm going to fill with some sawdust and glue. And I'm thinking of, we'll putty these holes and fill them up. So my idea after doing all this thinking as I was making this is to come up with what's called a mock-up. So it's when you take two ideas and you put them together and use them simultaneously. For example, a cell phone and a camera. They put those two together and voila, we love our cell phone cameras, right? It's the key feature in our cell phones. So whoever put those together, technology allowed it, that's a mock-up. You got a centaur and a horse, you put them together, you got a mock-up. You got a horse and a human, you put it together, you get a centaur. That's a mock-up. It's done in industry, it's done in ways to think about new ideas, it's used in the art world all the time, and that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking in that mind while I was working on this, and I was like, what are two things that this is often used for? Well, one, cutting board. So we're going to do this smooth side be the cutting board side, but this side will be the tray table side. A little bit heavy for a tray table, but it's got handles and you lift it up, it's not that bad. So we're going to put a light frame around it, a little ridge. Well, it's going to be a big enough ridge that I can have a handle in it. So we'll see. Or maybe it'll be a thin ridge and you just hold it from the bottom. But yeah, so I got to work out some issues. I don't want to transfer the top. So yeah, probably going to have a handle and a pretty high rim around it. So when we set it upside down, or really only the ends need to be level all the way across so it doesn't wobble, right? And the sides could be a little bit lower. We'll look at that and design it, and we'll have a tray table on one side and a cutting board on the other. Let's get to it. This is my cherry wood flower. All right, these have dried up, these spots. Let's just clean them off. Again, the 120 before we move up in the grits. All right, that's all smooth. Corner's good. No steps, no holes. So that's the cutting board side, looks really clean. And this is the tray side, which will have our picture in here, so it's okay. That's it on this side. Alright, so I went down to my local hardwood store. It's a Craig store, this one happens to be my closest one, and picked up a piece of Peruvian walnut. 2S2, so two sides are finished, the ends are not finished, so I saved a little bit of money there. Giving me almost the same thickness of my board, it's slightly less, which is fine. And I want to go all the way around like this, all the way around with the two handles cut out of this on the ends, so it's a tray table on one side. And I'm going to be able to accomplish all that with about just over half the board. And the other half I'll have extra, and I'll be able to put two of them together and inlay my bird design that I want to inlay in there. Of course, I'll need to put that in first before I put the tray rim and handle around the edge. So that's what's going on. The reason this board was a little cheaper is because it's warped, a little wobbly there. See, a little wobbly there. So by cutting it, I'll have a shorter piece and easier to deal with on the planer. All right, well, I'm excited. It's about 28.5 right there. Yeah, that's great. Right there. Those are close. So cut our length off here, and then we can split it in half down the middle and plane these two boards. Probably maybe I'll plane it before we run it in half, and that'll be enough to go around this whole thing. Okay, so your board is planed flat. Then you bring it up here and look at that. It gets really close to the blade there, and then the gap gets bigger. And with this piece it matters because we're mounting it on its edge. And if you come over here and look at the fence, look at the gap in the middle and the edge touches. So that's a problem. If you don't have the tool to fix that, you use your table saw and you just extend the fence. It's just hitting the blade right there. That's what we want. Like that. And let's run it through. Keep it flat. Look at that, all the way down. The other side, totally flat on that steel. Now we are ready to cut it in half and go around the entire cutting board. Okay, what turned out really cool is we are 1, 2, 3, 4 inches right, exactly. So that is cool. After trimming those edges, got lucky. Let's come 2 inches in, right there. A little more pen there. And put the ruler on this side and run that line. Okay, we need to cut this line in half. There's a distance between here and here that you can't really see if you're going to cut that line in half. So if you lift the board up, say a 45-degree angle, you bring it over here, then you could tap your fence over, bring it right to the middle of one of those teeth. Make sure you're up against that the fence really flat. Of course, I'm pushing on it, pushing the other way. Let's lock that. Let's see. Look at that. That is halfway. All right. Ooh, burning there. Now, the test. Oh, there's a hair, just a 16th. See that? So I need to trim that off. We're going to put them together on here. Keep bringing it in. There we go. And that is what we need to cut off of this other one. Looks like almost half the pencil line off, half the line off. That's interesting. There we go. Oh, perfect. All the way down. That's what I'm looking for. What we don't want to get into is a war going back and forth, shortening it and shortening it. Okay, we need to cut these off. I want to get at least these perfect so, and line them up so they're totally flush with the back end on the over here, and on this corner, make our line. It's given to us. So I've made this type of mistake before, is where you assume everything's so perfect and square that you mark them and go to cut them together. But if we come down here, it's a good 16th, so it's 1/16 of an inch difference. So somewhere along the line, we did not get perfect squareness on the outer edge of that cutting board, and that's okay. So we just need to be sure to cut these individually. So remember, when you have multiple sides, make sure, don't assume that you're so perfect. And when you're careful, it pays off. That's totally flush on this end. Slide down to this end. Like that. Totally flush, no step. Alright, so I don't like it right now because I feel that it's too boxy. Got this box top, the boxy bottom, all the pieces in it are almost all the same shape, the rectangle shape. And so we need to bring little curves into it and balance things out. And it's pretty deep also, so I think we're going to take one side of the whole thing and come in so the corners are really solid and stable for when it's a cutting board. But when you flip it over, this will come down and then go back up. Because most tray tables have a pretty thin circle and just the handles on the end, right? Pretty thin square with just the handles on the end. So I'm going to design a nice little swoopy curve here, down, across, and up, and we'll have to cut that out on the bandsaw we don't have. So jigsaw it, or take it to my work where there's one, and lay it out and see if we like that. Okay, we drew them both out. I made them both identical. Swoop here. You cut it out. Where's my, oh, right there, I went too far. We kept that the same on the top and the bottom. There we go. We've got two that match each other. I just lined these up, measured this, and wrote it there. So carve this out, cut it out, and we'll have two handles on each side of the tray. Pounding down in there a spline that is this wide. And it'll give it a cool little joint. Before we go digging into this one-of-a-kind stuff here, we don't want to mess that up. Let's make a jig and get it set up on the table saw so we can test it and see if this fits in there. Then reproduce that on this four corners. Right there, I like that. Tighten that. Alright, there's a tight fit on that. And we are, looks like, let's see if we're dead center on that. Flip it over. We line it up there, and look at that, right on the line. Okay, we're good. Alright, I'm all marked up on all my ends. Give it a shot. Hope we don't ruin it. Alright, let's see here. We're a little loose on. Wow. We're going to have to be not as deep on the other one. Alright, I'm going to treat each corner individually. Got it set up, stop block, pushed it in here. Then I just got to pull it out a little bit to get the other side. Oh, be careful. So I did make these more shallow so they can fit in there. Oh, I love that. I can make these fit perfectly there. Cut it up there, take that into the house, and draw it on there. Then we'll take it to a bandsaw, cut it out. It's too thick, we'll cut it in half, then cut it out, and have a spare piece. Bring it back, trace it out, router it out. We've drawn the rectangle here to cut out for the handle on each side, so we've got to cut these out. Change my thought. Instead of drilling a hole in each corner, I'm going to drill it on each end, and then I can round these corners and run down and round up to the hole, and the drill will make a rounded corner there and back out this way. So I only got to drill 2 holes again, but kind of give me ovals at the end instead of trying to be super square. Okay, there you go. Jigsaw that out now. We might need some of this for the cracks in here. I like it. That worked. Ooh, nice and clean there too. Oh. There we go. Nice. And let's see. Look at that. It's going to be like that. You can reach your hand right in, grab it. When it's rounded over, it's going to feel nice. Alright, there they are. Pretty rough, I think. Now we could take it to the router, hopefully, and make a nice round over on both sides. Then round over the top, all the way around, in the inside, all the way around. Alright, I'm loving how this is looking, rounded and smooth. It's going to be nice there. Made some dimples in this with the jigsaw. See those? Well, we're going to sand it all up now. Hopefully get it nice and clean. Run this strip of sandpaper through here and we can get that inside edge. These are all sanded up to 180, nice and smooth now. And the only issue is the inside here, of course, could not get all the way across and in the corners. So pull off the disc. Here's the 180. We'll see if it's enough to take it up to that last bit. Of course it doesn't fit, so I think I'm gonna cut it and work it. So I cut this. I'm gonna go right through here. I didn't get that very well. So, let's see what we can do. Oh yeah, that's getting that fuzz out of there. See the shavings fall? Little sanding tip. Coming along. Nice handles, all up to 180, smooth. Ready to work on this part, get our bird in here. Right, I'm not going to do this without practicing at least once before I put it into the real deal. First timer is a dangerous thing. Got this upcut bit. Putting this in there right now. Well, there it is, glued, sanded up. All right, let's undo all the clamps here and see if there's, and do some sanding and see if there's any touch-ups we got to do in some of these gaps, and figure out how we're going to finish it. Look at that. Cutting board. Tray table. Alright, I sanded this side down, you know, 1/16 of an inch, all that block down to a nice seam line there. That was a lot of work. So now I just used the router and flush trimmed it much better, ready to fill the gaps there. Look at this, but this is the bulb bearing, is not a bearing on that other one. It just is an end piece that spins, so that heats up against the wood as it goes and kind of, now to make the wood nice, so we're gonna have to sand all that off. But that shouldn't take an hour now to sand it. Look at that, beautiful. That side literally took 2 minutes with 100 grit sandpaper. We're gonna now fill this up. I don't know why this one warped. I'm not sure what happened. It sat here for a month before I can get to it. I clamped it down real hard, but looking at it, it looks like it's the board that curves down. It's flat here, and somehow I sanded too much maybe on the end there. We'll fill it with the brown and you won't even notice some brown dusts. And finally I mixed up some sawdust and glue and shoved it in this one bad end. Little crack there, one little spot there and there. We'll let those dry, we'll sand them. Only thing now is a couple spots of spray glue on the inside of the tray. We're just going to clean it up a little bit with this chisel. For the most part, the dust in the crack trick works pretty good. I'm going to do 240, 230, 320, 400, 600. This is 180. Here we go. All right, I got the whole thing wet, and it did get rough, and I resanded it with 600 grit. This whole thing is sanded to 600 grit. Pretty soft, super smooth. Love it. Now the final stage is to get some oil on there. We're gonna put the typical cutting board oil on the whole thing and see how that goes. I'm learning that apparently tongue oil might be the best. It can handle heat and washing a little better, from what another YouTuber did. I think it's the Wood Whisperer. Tested some of these different products, but we're gonna go with what we have. Still got half a jar here, so next one we'll buy the tongue oil and do that. All right, gloves, spread it out, let it soak in overnight, and we'll come wipe it off. I don't do a drenching. Wow, that maple is beautiful. Can you see that in there? Alright, there it is. Pretty dry. I don't think there's much to wipe off, but we'll wipe it off. A little bit of oil and dust. We'll take it in. We'll be all done. We'll do a little final video of it in use. How about that? Alright friends, thanks for watching that video. Hope you enjoyed it. Stick around and watch something in the next video, somewhere up here, down there, whatever. And like, subscribe, and go out there and make something cool. Later guys. Bye.